Hello everyone, welcome to the Cloud Careers YouTube channel, and this is our session 5 of our free Linux training. As a part of this DevOps with AWS career path, we are going to release a lot of videos that are related to cloud and DevOps. As a part of the cloud and DevOps, one of the most important prerequisite is Linux. Keeping that context in mind, we are going to release a lot of Linux videos. As a DevOps engineer, what all you are supposed to learn is something we are going to cover in all the upcoming Linux videos that we are going to cover. So as a part of our as a part of the encouragement, so I would request every one of you to subscribe to the content and like the videos if you like the content. And this is my YouTube channel, and we are 110 subscribers, close to reaching 1,000, which is a milestone. I appreciate everyone. If you like the content, please like the channel and subscribe to our content. That really helps us motivating further to publish more content. All right, so let's start. So in our previous session, which is nothing but our session 4, we have seen in CPU, in system, you want to buy any computer or any server, the very first things that we look at it is the hardware information. What is the allocated CPU? What is the allocated memory? What is the disk that is allocated? So yesterday we have seen how to see the amount of CPU that is allocated and the amount of memory that is allocated. Also, we saw that how to see the flavor or the distribution in Linux. So using the file read command. Okay, in the file read command, which is nothing but cat is a command which helps you in reading a file. Cat is a command which helps you in reading a file. So cat space etc does a directory which helps you to see all the system configuration files inside the Linux. In almost all the flavors of Linux, you can see that cat is etc is a directory where you can see all that. And if you want to see the system related information, you need to use something called as etc release. Star indicates include everything that starts with hyphen. And also in Linux, everything is a file. So in order to read a file, you use cat. And at the same time, if you want to create a file, we need to use a command called as touch. Touch is a command which helps you in creating a file. Touch followed by the file name, which is going to create a file. This is something we have seen. And if you want to create multiple files, you need to use something called as touch file name. You can include multiple file names, which is going to create the file. Now, how to remove a file is also we have seen. Rm is a command which helps you in removing a file, and mv is a command which helps you in renaming a file. Okay, so this is how rm file name to be deleted. This is going to delete that particular file. And if you want to rename the file, you need to use mv command, the name of the file that you want to rename and the file name that you want to give new name. But here there is a catch. If you are trying to rename a file, which is nothing but X, and the new name that you want to give is Y, and in the destination where you are trying to copy, if you could see the file which is having the same name Y, what it's going to do is it's going to override the existing content. That means if you already have a file with the name Y, it's going to override the content. So you should be very careful when you are using that. Okay, these are the things that we have seen. Also, we have seen what else we have seen. We have also seen how to list the content using ls-ltr. Also, we also saw how to list the content. How to list the content is something we have seen. Let's try to proceed further. Okay, so in Linux, we have multiple varieties of files. And also one more request, the whole course content, okay, that you're looking for with respect to the cloud and DevOps, everything is enclosed in the description. Please ensure you check the content that is enclosed in the description. So you can also find the same notes that I'm going to cover here. Okay, you can find it in the same Linux notes repository of our the Cloud Careers GitHub. This link also we have updated in the description. Please ensure you check that. Okay, so we are discussing that in Linux, everything is a file, right? Yes, in Linux, everything is a file. And in Linux, everything is a file. And there are a lot of varieties of files. And in general, the types of files are categorized into 7 types. Based on the type of file, things are categorized. Things are categorized. So let's try to understand this. So if any of the file that is starting with D, that is called as a directory file. In Linux, directory is nothing but a folder. And regular file, which is nothing but the text file, the file which you create is called as a regular file. And if any of the file that starts with hyphen, that means it is called as link file. Link file, it's also called as symbolic link. Symbolic link is like creating shortcuts. In Windows, you create shortcuts for a particular file, right? So if a file is inside A directory, B directory, C directory, D directory, X, Y, Z, rather than you going into those many paths, you can create a shortcut and can save that shortcut on the top of your desktop, right? Where you can click on it and you can directly go to that file. Similarly in Linux, that is called a soft link. And block devices. So the disk that you are going to attach or the storage disk, everything that you attach is referred as a block devices. And character files or socket files, these are mostly come from the development front. So this is something not much important. And another important file, these three are something which we don't have to really care. These come from the development perspective, but in a nutshell, there are 7 varieties of file. So these are the 4 varieties of file which you see very often. All right. And next thing, why are we creating a server? A server is a big computer which is created to be used by a number of users, right? And that's the difference between a computer, or there is a difference between a computer or your server, right? The difference between the computer or the server is computer is just for your purpose. Okay, so one person, just like your computer. A server is nothing but something which is designed to be used by a number of people, right? For example, you create a server, and the server is nothing but a hardware, and that hardware can be from any providers. It can be from HEP hardware or from IBM hardware, anything. Okay, so you bought a hardware, and on the top of it, you are going to install operating system, just like your Linux. Let's assume we have installed CentOS Linux. You have installed CentOS Linux on the top of it. Fine. So far, it's fine. Now, what's next? You have installed it. So what's next? What's next? We installed CentOS Linux on the top of it. So what's next? So obviously the main reason why we have created is we want this to be utilized by a number of people, right? So you are going to install application like payment application, cart application, or leaves application, any application you are going to install, which will be used by a number of people. A number of people, like you join any company, they give you a username and password, right? Where you can access your company website. Similarly, you open a Gmail, you have a username and password, right? Similarly, if a server has to be accessed by a number of people, all the number of people will have their respective username and password. That means if you want to access a Linux machine, you need to have a username and password. All these days, we are using the username and password as CentOS. And the password that we are using is password123, right? So here CentOS is a user account. Now I want to show you the list of user accounts that are available in the machine. As per you, the available passwords that are in the machine are CentOS and root, right? Where root is the administrator account or the first user account which is created in the machine, right? Now, how can I create my own user accounts? Like, for example, I have a lot of users where I want to create the user accounts. Well, I can teach that. But before that, how can you see the list of all the user accounts that are available in the Linux server? Let's go to the server and connect to it. Just before the session, I started the server, open my Git bash. Open my Git bash. Let me connect to the server. SSH CentOS @ I'm trying to connect to the server. I'm entering the password as password123. Yes, I connected to the server. Now what's next? Okay, now if you want to see the list of user accounts that are available in the Linux server, again, yesterday I taught you something. When you want to do something in Linux machine, the very first thing that should trigger in your mind is, in Linux, everything is a command, and all the system configuration or all the configuration is available in files. And all the configuration is available inside a directory called as etc. And inside the etc, there is a file called as passwd. Passwd is a file which is available inside the etc directory, which is going to show you the list of available files inside the machine. Click on it. Now it's going to show you the list of available user accounts in the machine. Okay, this is how you can see the list of available servers in the user accounts in the server. Now, root is a user account, bin is a user account, daemon is a user account, ADM is a user account, CentOS is a user account. But who has created all these things? So just like how you got the CentOS user account and the root user account, your system as a part of the installation has created all these user accounts. Now, using these accounts, can a human beings can enter? No. So this is also a very famous interview question. How can you see the list of available user accounts which can be used to sign in? Okay, not all the user accounts that are created in the system are for the purpose of users. Even your machines, your automation, your bots, if anyone wants to talk, they also need to have certain sort of accounts called as system accounts or machine accounts. Okay, if you're at the end, if you're having bin and bash or bin sh, that means this user account can be signed in. Whenever you see sbin no login, that means this account is not meant for signing in, or this is not used to log in to your server. So among all these, you have bin bash only for CentOS and root. That's all. These two are the only two user accounts who are having the capability or ability to read the user account. Okay, to enter into the sign in, or the users who are having the ability to sign in. Now another important thing is if you want to display the content with a serial number, so all you need to do is you need to use a flag called as -n. Now it's going to show you this is line number 1, this is line number 2, this is line number 3, and this is line number 5. Okay, how do I know that? If you don't know that, it's very simple. Cat -help. So it's going to show you that. Okay, -n is going to number all the output lines. Number all the output lines. It's a very common operation that is used in Linux. So since I know that, I directly used it. What's next? All right. Now, using cat, you can display the content from top to the bottom, right? So similarly, if you want to display the content from bottom to the top, that means if you want to print the data in reverse order, how to do that? How to do that? Let's try to see that. Now, if you use cat, it is going to display the content, right? It's going to display you the content, cat, xe password, which is going to show you the line number of each and every server, each and every line of the file. Similarly, if you use a command called as a tag, so cat, the inverse of cat is tag, TAC. If you use the cat command and if you use PASSWD file name, then it's going to print the same content in a reverse order. Okay, let's see whether it is true or not. Now, earlier, the start of the line is root and then bin. Now, if you see, the bottom is printed as root and the bottom button is printed as bin. If you want to print a file in reverse order, you can use something called as tag. Tag helps you in printing the file in reverse order. Okay, now I landed into a situation where I have 100 files. Okay, cat xe PASSWD. Now this is printing you 300 lines and your file is having 300 lines. For example, you're printing a file which is nothing but etc password that is having 300 lines. Now I'm not interested to print all the 300 lines. Instead, I'm interested in printing only the top 10 lines of the file or bottom 10 lines of the file. For example, this is a requirement. You want to print only the top 10 lines of a file. Print only the last 10 lines of the file. Or if you want to print only the lines in between 20 to 25. Or if you want to print only some X line, like I only want to print some 15th line of a file. Okay, if this is the situation, definitely cat is not going to help you. If this is the line, cat is not going to help you. In this case, what you need to do is you need to use tools, and that's where tools helps you in picture. Okay, we have some tools called as cat. Okay, just like how we have cat, similarly we have some tools called as head and tail. Okay, head file name.txt, tail file name.txt. File name.txt and tail file name.txt. This is going to display the top 10 lines of the file. Okay, head is going to print by default prints top 10 lines of a file. This is going to print the top 10 lines of a file. and this is going to print the bottom 10 lines, last 10 lines of a file. Okay, let's try to see how this works. Okay, how this works. This is the syntax of the command. So come here and try to see that. Okay, now tail xe password. Now you can see it has printed only the last 10 lines of a file. For example, it started in 23, see till 12. Can you see this? It has printed from 14 to 23, which is nothing but only the last 10 lines of a file. So whenever you landed into a situation where you want to print only the last 10 lines of a file, you can use tail. But if you want to print just last 3 lines of a file, or last 5 lines of a file, or last 20 lines of a file, then how can you do that? Tail, by default, it's going to print only the last 10 lines. But if you want to print any specific thing, I don't know how to use it. All I do is I'll come here, I'll say tail hyphen help. I look for the available options. So it says -n followed by the lines. Okay, outputs the last k lines instead of printing the last 10 lines. You can also use it. So what I can do is I can use tail, I'll say -n3. Now it's going to print only the last 3 lines of a file. Can you see this? Last 3 lines of a file is postfix, chrony, and CentOS. It has just printed only the last 3 lines of a file, which is nothing but postfix, chrony, and CentOS. Exactly the same, but it is inverse to tail is nothing but head. Okay, so head and tail, two opposite words, right? Now, if you use the same word, xe password, it is going to print the top 10 lines of a file by default. So if you see the top 10 lines of a file, the top 10 lines of a file is root bin operator. Can you see this? Root bin and operator. This is how you can print the top 10 lines of a file. Now, instead, rather than printing the default 10 lines of any file, rather, if you want to print only the top 3 lines of a file, or top 5 lines of a file, or top 15 lines of a file, just like how we have used the flag head-n, you can mention 3, which is going to print only the top 3 lines of a file. Based on the need and based on the need or as per your requirement, you can use either head or tail followed by the number of lines that you want to print. That's a quick overview about your head and tail. Now we covered the scenario how to print the top 10 lines of a file. We are very sure how to print it, and we also printed how to print the bottom 10 lines of a file. This also we are very sure. But how can you print any of the line in a range? How can you print any of the lines in between a range? Like I want to print the lines in between 5 to 12. Okay, so you want to print the files in between 5 to 12. How can you do that? How can you do that? And that's where you got some other powerful tools called as SED comes up into picture. Okay, SED stands for Streamline Editor. Okay, SED is a very powerful tool, and SED is a very big tool. We have 100,000 plus options that are available in SED, but we are not much interested in exploring and becoming a subject matter expert in it. So we'll go with the need to know basis. So I want to print the values in between the range of 10 to 15. So you can use something called a SED. SED is a streamline editor, which is also a tool in Linux. Okay, SED is a streamline editor. Using the SED, you can print any of the values of your choice. Okay, so if you want to see the list of available options in SED, just SED -help. You can see the list of available options in SED. Okay, if you see the list of available options in SED, let me try to minimize it. Okay, now it says a lot of options, by the way. Now you can use something called as -n, quiet and silence, suppress automatic printing of the pattern space, and script. Whenever you're using any sort of expressions, you need to use -e. And if you want to print something, you need to use P. So likewise, you can use these and print. Okay, but if you want to print anything in between a range, you can use the command called as SED. And using the SED, you can print, for example, and the command for that is SED -n -e. You need to mention I want to print the values in between the range of, okay, I want to print the values in the range of 5 to 12. 5, 12, 5, 12, give a space and use P. P stands for print. Done. And you need to make the file name. Okay. This is a syntax which helps you in printing a file as per your range that you have given. Let's try to see whether it works or not. Okay. Now I want to print the values in between 5 to 10 or 8 to 12. So how to do that? Sed -n -e 8, 12 space P and then name of the file. And the file is PASSWD. Now you can see it has printed only the lines in between the range of 8 to 12. You can also validate in the left portion of the screen. First is HAL, second is mail, third is operator, fourth is games, and fifth is FTP. Okay, this is also one of the most commonly asked interview question. Everyone who started their Linux definitely will come to know how to print the top 10 lines and how to print the last 10 lines, or how to print the top, or how to print the bottom last 5 lines, or anything. That is a very simple operation, but majority of the people fail to print the values in between the range, and this is also one of the most common interview asked questions, and this is also very important operation that is needed if you want to start your cloud or DevOps journey, because you deal a lot with files. You deal a lot with files. Now, if I want to print only a specific line, for example, I am interested in only printing 17th line. How can you do that? It's also very simple. So sed -n -e. All you need to do is just say, okay, now I want to print 17th line. Just say 17p. Now it's going to print only that specific 17th line. So rather than supplying the range, you just given 17p, which means you're telling to print only the, to print that particular line. Okay. Now, again, you landed into a situation where you want to print both line number 10 and line number 15. Okay, I'm repeating again. Now I want to print only the line number 10 and line number 15. I think you can use the same thing, but you need to use 2 -s. Now I want to print line number 10 and line number 15. Okay, line number 10 and line number 15. If you say this, it's going to print both the line number 10 and line number 15. So you are supplying two expressions, -e, print line 10. You're also supplying another expression, -e, followed by 15th line. Enter. Now it's printed both line number 10 and it also has printed line number 15. If you see this, line number 10 is operator and line number 15 is the dbus. So we have printed both the lines. Okay, this is how you can use. This is how you can use it. Okay. Now, for example, now we learned how to print the top 10 lines, how to print the bottom 10 lines, or how to print the top X lines, or how to print the top Y lines. We are also sure how to print lines in between a range. Given a range, you can also print the values in that range. And if you want to print only some XYZ lines, you also know how to print only that specific XYZ. Done. Using the Streamlit editor, we have achieved it. Now, sometimes you will also encounter a situation where your line, for example, you're having a file, and that file is having a number of lines. And that line is having a number of files, a number of lines. It can have a number of lines. And out of these n number of lines, each and every line will have some statement, right? For example, dbus, something. So each and every expression in line is referred as a line. Okay, this is line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, line number 4. Like that, if you are having a file with 100 lines or 500 lines or 600 lines or 1000 lines, but you're not interested in reading the entire file. You're not interested in reading the entire file. Rather than that, you're interested in only printing certain portion of your file. For example, if you have taken this as a line number 1, in line number 1, let me try to put it in a different format. In line number 1, copy this. So in line number 1, if you ask me what is a field separator or the field which is separating the entries, then I can say the field that is separating it is, okay, here the semicolon is referred as a field separator. Okay, here the semicolon is referred as a field separator because this is a field which is separating the lines, right? So you have multiple words and each and every word is separated by a filter called as, okay, separated by a field called as colon. And that's the reason here this is called as a field separator. Now this is field number 1. Okay, now this is field number 1. This is first field. This is second field. This is third field. This is fourth field. This is fifth field. This is sixth field. This is seventh field. Now, if you want to print a specific field, for example, you might have a spreadsheet. For example, yours is a shoes company which sells a lot of shoes. End of the day, all you care is, okay, how many shoes are being sold. Okay, for example, your end of the day business report is looking like this, which is having a spreadsheet with a number of columns. All you care about is what is the price of, what is the price and what is the total. So you have a big file with 1000 entries, and in that you are only interested in this entry because you want to do a total on this field. Now, if you want to print only the specific field, how to do that? How to do that? And that's where another tool called as cut that comes up into picture. Okay, cut is also a tool based on the field delimiter. You can mention which field you want. Okay, so and the syntax for that is cut. You need to mention what is the delimiter. In my case, the delimiter is semicolon. I'm going to mention it. Now, if you're interested to print only specific field like F1, which is like nothing but field 1, you can mention it and just mention the. Now it's going to print only the first field in this etc password. Let's see whether it is true or not. Cut -d. The field separator is column. Now I'd like to print -f1, which is nothing but first field. Enter. Now you can print only the specific field, which is nothing but first field. So it's not cur, it's a cut, CUT. Can you see this? It has printed only the first field. So using this, you can print. Using this, you can print any particular field. Any particular field. Done. What's next? So the next important thing is how to edit a file. So how to edit a file is a very important topic, which I want to cover in the next session. So if you don't know how to edit a file, directly learning cloud or directly learning DevOps doesn't make sense, because if you join any project or if someone asks you, hey, edit the file, hey, update the file, and if you're not sure how to update the file, definitely it's going to create a bad impression on you. And at the same time, so if you are a beginner in the space of Linux community, definitely you feel how to edit a file is a little challenging task. Okay, I also feel when I started my career in 2010, I also felt that editing a file is a little tricky task because you need to know the modes and you need to know how to edit a file. That is very important, which I'm going to cover in the upcoming session. Also, if you like the content, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like the content, please give a like button. And we are 100 subscribers close to reach 1000 subscribers. And if you like the content, again, please encourage my work by subscribing to the channel and hit a like button. That helps me to grow as a YouTuber and that motivates me to post further beautiful content. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video with the VI video. That's it. Thank you. I'll see you in the upcoming session. Happy learning. Bye.